All right, so this topic is something that I've recently learned. I think it's a very interesting to understand the bit of geography of the Europeans. Now, uh, this information is something that it gets us a bit thinking about, get me thinking about it. Now, I have a bit of information background where I get this information from. Now, I've just gone back from my camping trip, and it's been my third year going to a camping trip for 9 days with this bicycle event. And this year, somehow, we weren't close at the beginning, but towards the end, he likes to talk about politics and social problems, social issues. So it's Spain. For Spain, I met a Spain guy. He's under holiday visa, and we never spoke before, but he eavesdropped the conversation while we're on the bus, talking about what is what is China's actually doing, improving, and the infrastructure and everything in Africa countries, and or perhaps what is going on with the fast rail. And he started to wanting to talk about something, and obviously what I really do in my what a lot of Europeans will say, they hate Americans because they don't have much knowledge. Europeans, I really admire them. I think Australia is very isolated, same as Australia is very isolated, so it's very easy to be manipulated because all our information is gathered from the media. Now, Europeans or I just have to say Europeans in this context, but I'm pretty sure other parts of countries are has close nearby members countries, but especially for Europeans where they have not much border controls within the Europeans, unless if there's a migrant or refugee rate. So what he said is that the Spain has just voted no for UBI. Now, for those who doesn't know what UBI is, Universal Basic Income. Now, Finland is the first country in the world who has established this UBI, which means that regardless if you're rich, poor, homeless, or anyone, you pretty much get a welfare. So it is one of the most, you could say it's one of the future government action. But it's amazing how he said, he's worried about his country. And he tells me a bit about the geography of, especially towards what the South Europeans, the North Europeans, the East Europeans, and so on. So the East Europeans, as you guys know, Hungarian, Poland, and Austria. They are very, very conservative. And where you got the South Europeans, which you guys may call pigs, so which is under Portugal, Italy, Greece, Spain, right? These are the countries, the southern countries are doing really poor in the Europeans. They're dragging it really down, and bailouts or just too much debt, or they're not performing really well. Then you have the North Europeans, right? Scandinavia or whatever, what's above. And they're usually a lot more open, obviously the more north they are, they tend to be a lot more open, a lot more liberated. So they have one of the best human rights if you look at the North Europeans. Now, the North Europeans are obviously this Spaniard guy is 41 years old, I'm 28, and we have sat down together, has gained this conversation. We started this conversation, and sooner or later we became good friendship, even though we only met for 2 days. So he shared about his life, like what is going on and things like that, and how Australia is really behind, usually 10 years, decade below, where pigs are usually 10 years above us. And obviously, Northern Europeans are maybe 20 or 30 years right ahead of all of us. or I can't say 20, maybe 10 years, right? So obviously, just to know the knowledge of fact, to understand that, it makes me realize, even though it's very easy predictable what is going to happen, because all of us, the countries wanting to climb for this human right ladder. And we talked under the line, like, I'm not generalizing, but he's 41 and he's been telling me half of his friends are not married in his age bracket, and half, like his classmates, and half of them got married. That's 41. That's pretty crazy to know that. I know in Australia it's a bit, I think 50-50 is a bit too much. So you could see what is going on around up there. Now, obviously, whether I should include divorce or not, that is something I haven't went through deeper. But what I'm trying to say is that the society is easy predictable, because these countries are a lot more ahead of us. So to understand a lot more, it's better to look at what these countries' models has been looking through. So that's one part of understanding the euro. So I'm trying to make a quick videos about it.